So we're going to do something a little bit different today. We're going to each work with a letter form. Now my last name is McFarland, so I've done an M. And you can choose whatever letter form you want. It can be your first initial, your last initial, or letter Z for Zentangle, whatever you want to do for your letter form. If you have just a regular piece of paper, that's fine. Just kind of block out the space that you're going to use. And I just kind of, as an example, I'm going to do a letter S, but I'm going to go to my tile now, and I'm going to work with my pencil, and I'm going to sketch out my letter form. But I'm going to start, as always, with putting my dots in my corners, connecting my dots. Now there's a couple of different ways to do your letter form. You can just kind of sketch it in there, and then we'll work around a single line. And then we're going to divide the space up into 4 sections. So it really doesn't matter where the 4 sections are. So I've got 4 sections divided up here. And so we're going to be using some tangles that those who've been with me for most of the weeks, they'll be familiar. But don't worry if you don't remember it, or if it's new to you. I will be going through each tangle one step at a time, like I always do. And the first one that we're going to work with is Crazy Caden. You can either start at the top of your letter, at the bottom of your letter, in the middle, wherever you want to do that. But I'm going to start at the bottom and work my way up to the top. And with Crazy Caden, it starts by putting some random circles, and then we're going to connect those circles like that. So I've got little orb spaces kind of scattered around the edge of my letter form. I think because I drew it so lightly with pencil, it's not going to be able to be seen unless I darken it. So I'm going to darken it. Now I'm going to connect my orbs with kind of a swinging motion that is actually kind of like an S. It's going to come off the top and swing around and come to the right of that orb. So I'm turning my tile so I can make an easy swing off the top of the first orb, swing between the two, and come back and hit on the bottom. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to connect these two. Swing from the top, between them, around, and then back up. So I'm connecting them in triangles. That's the basics of Crazy Caden. We're going to give these all a little bit of dimensionality by putting some lines in there. And it doesn't matter which one you start with. I think I'm going to go from this one over here just to give it a little variety. And I'm going to do that swing, but when I land on this farther line down here, that's going to become the bottom, and it's going to kind of fan out to that side over here. I did Crazy Caden before, and I did it striped. See those stripes that are in there? I'm going to go ahead and do that again because I like that. So I'm going to fill in with ink every other one. That's my first triangle that's filled in. I'm going to do that same thing where I make the stripes and fill in each one. I'm going to turn my tile so that this becomes the landing line. We're going to move on to the next tangle, which I'm going to put in this next section of my letter form. And like whatever letter form you're working in, whatever section you're in, we're going to do this one together. And this one is called Mulligan. And when I did the Mulligan, it's this section here in my M. I did it really small. You do not have to do it that small. Just happened to be the way my hand was working at the time. So I'm going to be doing these shapes a little bit bigger in my S, and we're going to doing a little design work inside. And I'll show you how Polygon works. Polygon is basically do kind of a curve, and then you bring it out like that. So it's two smiles that are kind of hooked together. And then you echo that line and do it again. So these Polygon shapes, that's a Polygon shape. They can get bigger or smaller. I'm going to do just a partial one over here so it kind of tucks in behind. Now there are lots of different fillings that you can put into a Polygon. And this time I picked one that kind of reminded me of a slice of citrus. So I'm going to pick one of these that's a little bit bigger and show you how that works. So I just kind of start from the center of the inside curve, and I just draw some lines that fan out, straight lines that fan out to the outside, like that. And then I wanted to do something to really get that citrus look by putting a little extra weight out on the edge of the line where it hits the outer curve. I think we're about ready to move on to the next section. And this one is called perk. And we've done this one before. And this one I'm going to go back to my pencil for a moment and make sure I'm working on this part with my pencil because I want to divide this section up into other pieces. So we're going to be doing this part right here. You can do it in straight sections, or I'm going to put a little triangle down here at this end. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put some orbs inside each of these little pieces that I have now broken out. And I want to start down here in my triangle space. If you don't have a triangle space, it'll just be an orb in the middle, right between. But I'm going to come down toward my triangle. It's going to get thinner at one end and wider at the other end. I'm going to squeeze other orbs in there as well. And then I'm going to ink in the little empty spaces between my orbs. Now, once I've done that, in these bridges in between, this time I want to fill them in with little circles that have kind of a heavy line on them. Okay, the last section that we're going to do is called Munchin. This one starts a little bit similar to Crazy Cadence, but in this case, we're just going to put some dots, and we're going to end up connecting the dots with, instead of curved lines, we're going to do straight lines. So I'm actually going to have some dots inside and out on the edge. Just kind of randomly scattered around in that section. Then I'm going to start by connecting a couple of them. So it's got a triangle with the corners kind of tucked in under there. And then with Munchin, you start with a corner and you fan the lines out straight, and any corner will do. So there's some similarities between how we did the Mollygon and how we did the Crazy Caden, but you have a completely different effect when you get over here to the Munchin. And then I'm going to continue that connecting to make another triangle and bring the lines from one corner and landing on that far edge. So I also, on my M, I added some decorative elements, some fescue, and a little bit of worms here and there to just kind of connect the pieces a little bit. I'll show you how you can do that if you would like to do some worms or some fescue. So with the worms, I kind of filled in these empty spaces between the Crazy Caden. Just making some curved lines. Like this, around the circles. And with fescue, it's just a line that kind of curves and has a bit of weight on the end of it. And these can go pretty much anywhere you want. I'm going to bring one out here. So it's kind of curved around like a little bit of a spiral, and then I put a little bit of weight on the end of it right there. So the last, one of the last things to do is to add some shading. So I'm going to take my pencil and right along those landing spots, the whitest parts of the white in the Crazy Caden, I'm going to put a little bit of graphite, use my tortillon to kind of blend it up. On my M, I wanted to kind of get the Mollygon to connect a little bit with each other. So there's an option to add a little graphite between the Mollygon, either with just what's left over on your tortillon like this. It's kind of subtle, but I think it works really nicely. Next thing I'm going to do is add a little graphite to the outside edges of the perk. I'm going to go over to the Munchin, and similarly to the Caden, I'm going to go across the landing, the wide area where of each triangle where the lines landed, and put a little graphite there. So if I put these two together, there are my initials. Okay, so I can find a little place in here to tuck my initials in so everybody knows that, yes, indeed, I did do these.